Hi, I'm Maiah Wynne, and you're watching Eclectic Arts.
All right, so we're here with Maiah Wynne. Thank you for taking the time to do the interview today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And so I've been doing some research. I know that you've got a lot of things going on in terms of your background and what you're doing
Yeah.
consistently. So for those that aren't familiar with you, talk about your background and kind of what you're doing right now in November of 2018.
Well, I'm a singer-songwriter. I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and moved to Montana when I was 16. And that's where I started to perform in bars and all over the town. And I developed kind of my sound, which is a mix of genres, most easily described as like folk pop, but there's a lot of different influences in there. And the mission of my music is to really get out there and help people and write songs that help people in all sorts of different ways.
Okay, that's interesting. How do you feel that your music is helping people? Is it just through lyrically that they can maybe resonates with them, or something like, are you trying to partner with nonprofits on a larger scale, like everything, all the above?
Yes, all of the above. I try to write songs with intention, and I think that's the music that I enjoy the most, is songs that have intention behind their lyrics and behind the music. And so I'll write songs about dealing with PTSD, about the environment, about treating animals with respect, about, I don't know, just trying to be happy through difficult times, all sorts of different things, dealing with depression. There's so many different songs that I have that I feel like could help people and will resonate with people in different ways, and that I think could make a positive difference. And then I also have teamed up with, and will continue to be teaming up with, different nonprofits to help different causes that I believe in. I did a song called A Siren Song, and that was for the ocean, and it helped raise, I think, around $16,000 for different nonprofits that are helping to protect the oceans and keep them clean. But yeah.
That's awesome. For me personally, I have a kind of an affinity for the ocean. We used to go take summer vacations up to the San Juan Islands here in Washington State, and so anytime I'm around the water, it just kind of reminds me of that kind of home away from home type of concept. So I always feel better when I'm near it.
Definitely.
Cool. When you think back to when you started writing songs and playing music, was there a time when you kind of hit that one song of yours that you're like, this is kind of what I'm trying to get out of my head, and it's finally happening?
Yes, I think when I first started writing songs, I was 13, and those songs were very insincere. I think I was trying to write like cheesy love songs, and I had never been in love, and you try to find yourself, especially at such a young age, trying to figure out who you are as an artist can be hard. But when I started to write songs after school, I'd come home and I would just like sit at the piano and just sing whatever came to my mind and play whatever came to my mind. And sometimes it was terrible, like so terrible, and sometimes it was really amazing, and I would suddenly feel this moment of like, wow, those words really represented how I felt at that moment. And it went so well with what I was playing. It's just this little piece of magic, and I kind of held on to that, and I kept like searching for that when I came home, and so I just kept searching for that over and over again until I could really hone in, okay, this is that magic moment, this is that magic feeling where it feels like, okay, this is a real song, this is a real feeling that I'm creating, and this is a real thing. And I think I just over the years have kind of developed an ability to tap into that magic inside of me, and that is where my music comes from, is that feeling of like, okay, this is something I want to share with people, and this is something I want to keep singing about. But yeah.
Wow, that's really deep. I'm thinking of some of the artists that I've interviewed that are probably twice your age that are nowhere near as deep as that with with their material. So I think that's awesome. So, and I know you play many, many different instruments.
Yes.
Is that kind of just a part of that exploration in terms of how you're trying to capture a song or an idea in your head? So I need this sound, which means I need to play this instrument, or what's that?
Definitely. I think being able to play more than one instrument allows me to express those emotions in a wide variety of ways. There's still instruments that I want to learn, like, okay, this song I really hear, violin or cello or horns, and I can't play any of those yet. And so I think once I have those in my arsenal, it'll be easier for me to express those things. I often will think of a song and I'll hear it with all these different instruments completely fully arranged in my head, but then when I record it on my phone with my voice, it's like and it's not even remotely close to what I'm hearing in my head. So I definitely think being able to play as many instruments as I do, it allows me to really get the idea from my head out into the world in a more tangible way.
Okay, and kind of staying on that same topic, you've performed solo, you've performed with many different other musicians and one other musician. What do you kind of see yourself doing in the future? Is it kind of like the same thing or not really sure?
I think it's definitely going to always be a variety depending on the show and what I'm up to, but my dream is to perform with, like, if I could, I would do every show with like a little choir here, a quartet here, and like taiko drums and just this insane giant sound, because and there would still be songs where I'm just playing solo, but then there would be these giant songs too, and I think I love that variety, and I love having and incorporating all these different sounds and different unique instruments, because I really love something that you haven't heard before, or combining these two instruments and these two sounds that nobody's ever combined before, and you're like, oh, well, that's new and cool, and I love that, and that's what gets to me too. So hopefully someday I'll be doing that.
Okay. And where are you finding your inspiration these days for the things that you write about?
Definitely from inside of me, but also I am I'm a very emotional person and empathic, and it's hard for me to read about anything without feeling it very deeply, and so it's easy for me to write from not just my own perspective, but just reading the news about what's going on around the world, what people are going through. Even if I haven't personally experienced it, I feel like I have, because I don't know, I carry other people's emotions very deeply as well, and if I'm around somebody that I know, or even that I don't know very well, I'm able to put myself in their shoes. I know not perfectly, I'll never be able to truly understand what it's like being in someone else's shoes and living their life, but I feel like I feel things very deeply, and it allows me to write from different perspectives than just my own, and I think that's really cool.
Okay. And you were talking about being real empathetic and understanding other people's feelings and where they're coming from and perhaps what they're going through. I think every artist faces this, so I'm wondering how you face this when you have criticism, or maybe not even constructive criticism, but someone who's just being rude, or saying something online about your music, or leaving a comment on YouTube. How do you deal with that?
I don't handle it very well a lot. If I'm being honest, it is really hard for me, and I think there's just this weird wall there sometimes that people don't realize that this person is actually going to see their comment. They're just speaking without thinking, and they don't realize, oh, hey, that person that's in that video is going to see that, and they don't see how that's going to affect me or whoever they're commenting about. And so sometimes I'll respond to those comments, not in a mean way, but in a way that's like, I can understand why you feel that way, but actually this, or I'll try to be constructive about it. But sometimes I like reminding people that, hey, I'm right here, in this weird digital world that we're in.
Sure.
Like, I'm right here. I think sometimes that's a good reminder for people. But in general, I allow myself to feel bad about it for a while, and then I try to remind myself and give myself as much time to focus on positive comments that people have made, because it's really easy for me to just ignore all the positive things and just focus on the one negative thing.
Sure.
And I do that a lot, and it's really not good for me, and it's not good for my brain. So I try to remind myself, okay, you spent like 2 days focused on this negative comment, now you need to spend at least 2 days focused on like all these positive comments and all these really cool things that have happened, and balance it out at least.
Okay. No, I think that was very well said. I think I know for myself, when I was playing music, we had one gig that didn't go so well because of somebody in the audience, and at the time, I'm being all tough and having that shell on. But when I got home, it bugged me. It really bothered me. I was kind of like, why is this bothering me so much? It was just some stranger saying something to us, and it wasn't that horrible, but it was horrible enough.
Yeah.
And it's
Just
like,
gets under your skin.
yeah, and you're kind of like, you don't even need to say that. And
Yeah.
if you don't like it, go sit somewhere else or whatever,
Yeah.
leave. But I think, again, every artistic person kind of goes through different levels of it for sure. And I think, especially based on what you just said, that you're being so vulnerable with your music and what you're putting out there, then it's just kind of like I talk about a lot where it's kind of like walking around with no skin. And so
Yeah.
someone could just come up and touch you and you would just start
Right.
bleeding all over.
It does feel like that
Yeah,
sometimes.
and so you're putting that out there to a room full of strangers or fans or a combination of both, actually, and you just don't know what the reaction's going to be, let alone digitally and social media and all that kind of stuff, taking on a whole other world with that.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's good advice to kind of take a second before you actually press send or return or anything or enter
Yeah.
on a keyboard or your phone
Yeah.
based on what you're saying about somebody. So.
Yeah, or just think, okay, like, best case scenario, this comment, they don't even see it or it doesn't bother them. But also think of, okay, worst case scenario, this comment is enough to push somebody over the edge and just make them feel so terrible about themselves and send them into depression. Not that that's what happens to me, but, like, it could. You never know where people are in their lives, and that one comment you make could really, really hurt somebody without even thinking about it, And so I think it's good to think about, okay, what are the possibilities? What are the outcomes of me saying this thing and posting this thing? And do I really want to participate in that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting gears, when it comes to performing on stage, are you 100% comfortable? Are you somebody that when you started off you're kind of uncomfortable, or where are you percentage-wise nowadays? And then what do you like most about when you're performing live?
I am mostly comfortable. There's definitely moments, it's really funny because I won't get nervous sometimes for just a really big crowd or like a show that's a big deal, and I won't be very nervous for that. But then a really intimate show where there's just like 4 people in a room and there's no amplification and I'm just singing for people, that makes me so nervous. And I think it's because there's no wall there, there's no stage there, there's no microphone in front of my face. It's just like, here I am, and I'm so nervous in those moments. And it's really funny to me, the moments that I do get very nervous and shaken up, and the other times where it's like, this was a huge show and I wasn't even nervous for that, and I don't know why. But I'm mostly comfortable these days on stage, and I'm definitely still getting better and getting more comfortable, and the more I grow as a musician and hone in my skills as a musician, I think that will only get better, but maybe not, who knows. And then, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What do you like the most about performing live?
Right, okay. I would say that my favorite moments performing live are when I'm really connecting with the audience. And whether that's, I'm saying a joke that people are laughing about, and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm actually funny sometimes, and that makes me laugh. Or if it's a really emotional song that somebody's connecting with, and I can feel them connecting with that song, and, talking to them after the show as well is very powerful for me. I've had people tell me very, very moving stories about how songs have affected them and how it's helped them, and not just in person but also online. People will watch my videos in other parts of the world and then message me like, hey, I was going through this terrible time and I saw your song and it, brought me comfort, brought me light, and that's like the coolest thing for me, is knowing that I'm connecting with people and helping people in more ways than I even understand at this point, and that's just mind-boggling in a good way.
Mm-hmm. When you think about, and you touched on, with digital media and everything, it's international. I mean, someone could be halfway around the world watching something that you're doing. If you could pick any one or a couple artists to tour around nationally or internationally, who would you want to tour with?
Ooh, that is a tough one. There's so many artists that I love and I think would just be amazing to tour with, but maybe Hozier or Daughter or Nora Jones. She just seems like a really like that seems like it'd be a really calm tour to be on, you know? She just seems like a very, like, very grounded person. And her voice is very soothing, you know, just enjoy listening to it every day. Florence and the Machine, I think she's amazing, and she's the coolest energy, and I would probably just get chills every night watching her perform. So, I don't know, there's so many to choose from. Radiohead would be amazing. They just feel so far out of reach that I can't even like imagine or fathom that, but they would be amazing to tour with.
Okay.
But yeah, any of those.
Awesome. I'll have to talk to you off camera about somebody who I think you would probably resonate with a lot, who is just a spectacular person, and I think there's a lot of similarities between what both of you do.
Cool.
But I'll bring it up after we're off done with this interview here.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know that your most recent single was Sleep, and
Yes.
can you speak to the audience a bit about that?
Yeah. So I have a sleep disorder that I've had since I was a baby that's caused me to act out a lot of my dreams. It's not every night, but it's very often, and I'm usually acting out not good dreams. I remember all of my dreams, and I dream very vividly every single night, and they're almost never good. And so sometimes it feels like I'm living in two different worlds, like, okay, the day world where I'm not dying terrible deaths, and then the night world where I am dying terrible deaths over and over and over again, and you know, like my adrenaline is pumping all the time at night, and it's caused me to have really bad anxiety during the day because I'm experiencing these very terrifying things over and over again at night. And so this song was a way for me to express how that feels, and how it's isolating, and it's terrifying in a way that's hard to express to people, because I think everybody's dream experiences are so different. You know, my dad doesn't dream at all, and so trying to connect with him over this song is like, I don't even know how to explain this weird thing to you. And, you know, and other people dream very vividly, or some people are able to control their dreams, which I think is super cool, and lucid dreaming. I'm not able to do that, unfortunately, at the whim of whatever my brain is conjuring up. But the song was born as a way to express what it feels like in those moments and how scary it is, and to try to at least audibly express what it feels like to experience those kinds of night terrors, and hopefully that it brings comfort to other people, because there are a lot of people that do experience those things, and there's so many different kinds of sleep disorders, and not just sleep disorders, but like different mental health disorders and things that people deal with on a daily basis inside their own heads, and how scary that can be when you don't really know what is real or what isn't real, and these terrifying things are happening to you, but nobody else can see it, nobody else can understand it. And so I have so much sympathy for people who deal with things like that in any capacity, whether it's flashbacks or night terrors or schizophrenia. I have so much sympathy for anybody that's dealing with something like that, because it's so scary and it's so hard to express to people, and I think that it's easily minimized, and so I hope that this song brings some of those issues to light.
Okay, wow.
That was a long answer, sorry.
No, that was awesome. No, I love the fact that you're so articulate about your art and what you're putting out to the world. Some people, it just doesn't work for them. They just put it out and just kind of hope for the best, but they can't really articulate what's going on behind it. And no, you're completely the opposite of that. So I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And to kind of wrap things up, what are your short-term plans for, like, say, the next year, and then what are your long-term plans?
My short-term plans, I'm hoping to release one song every month for the next year, and then to tour with that album that those singles would create, hopefully in fall of 2019. And then after that, I just want to get as experienced and grow as much as possible. I'd love to tour the world someday. I'd love to be able to play at bigger venues. I would love to get to the point where I can go to a show and sing a song and some members of the audience are singing that song with me. I think that would be really cool. I want to get there someday and just keep creating music and I'd like to continue partnering with nonprofits. I'm really hoping to partner with Wild Aid someday. That's like, dream nonprofit partnership. And yeah, just keep creating, and I hope to act in films as well. That's like another side dream as well. So hopefully someday, long-term goals. But yeah, first the album, then the tour, and then everything else.
Well, it sounds like it's going to keep you busy for a while then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and I really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to finally seeing you live tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.